During the last stream, Jake and I went over our favorite cards from the Aftermath set of March of the Machine. It's a small set, but there are still some singles in there that we think are very fun and Commander playable. And this is a set where the approach should probably be, let's just buy singles and not buy the sealed product. 70% of the people that view our videos on average are not subscribed to our channel, and YouTube really cares if somebody clicks subscribe while they're watching a video that they like. So if you would do that for me, that'd be fantastic. Give me just a second to thank our patrons who help us work toward doing this as our full-time jobs. We'll be right back with our favorite cards from Aftermath.
Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat. We have our favorite March of the Machine Aftermath picks. These are cards that we are interested in picking up either as a commander or for the 99. We did do a tier list where we talked about our favorite commanders and we ranked them. All of the legendary creatures from March of the Machine Aftermath. Which
Make sure you go check that out.
Yeah, go check that out. This is the epilogue product that is accompanying March of the Machine, comes on the heels of the previous set. And the idea is MTG's Infinity War was so massive and had so many big story points that this product had to be created as an epilogue to that to kind of put a button on everything. And so we have a 50 card set. We've picked our favorite commander cards from that set, and we're going to talk to you about them today. So some of these are going to be Joel's picks. Some of them are going to be my picks. We're going to alternate back and forth. Let's get into it.
All right. The stage is set. The players are in their places. And we're starting with Filter Out. 2 blue, 1 other for an instant speed. Return all non-creature, non-land permanents to their owner's hands.
It's a mini Rift. It's a baby Rift.
I think that Baby Rift is going to be a highly played thorn in the sides of players for a long time to come. That's what I have to say about this uncommon.
Yeah, I think that it's easy to flash back to because it's so cheap. A pretty good card. This might make Snapcaster better, in my opinion. I don't know. It's pretty good. I know that it's non-creature, non-land permanents, but being able to bounce all the enchantments, all the other pesky artifacts, it's like a reset. And like, say something has hexproof because of a permanent that's on the battlefield. Now you're able to bounce that permanent and then get at that creature. It seems like a very versatile, good utility card for blue. Dude, it's really good.
Pillow Fort decks absolutely fold to this, and then your attacking line swings. It's just so strong. I think, honestly, that this is so strong it leans more towards CEDH than actual casual playable commander, because you're not going to get a lot of creatures there in CEDH, but you're definitely going to run into a lot of creatures in casual, and so... You know, it's kind of interesting where this one falls. I think it's an excellent new card, but it might be so powerful that only the top tiers are like, yes, it's very worth it for me to be able to return all the stacks pieces to their hand and then get my combo going. So I think it's got a lot of potential.
Says it's meh. I don't think it's, here's the thing is maybe it's not going to be as impactful as we think, but just based on the face level of the card, it seems pretty strong. Next card we have here is Blot Out. 1 black, 2 other. For an instant, target opponent exiles a creature or planeswalker they control with the greatest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. So little instant speed removal, and they have to exile it. Creature or planeswalker, greatest converted.
And it targets the player. Dog,
the player.
I put this one on the list. It's an uncommon. I put this one on the list because anybody who watches us stream every time we stream knows that over the last 3 weeks, Jake has played an Atali deck twice. That Atali deck could have used a good answer multiple times, and targeting Jake to have him exile his most expensive creature may be pretty good.
Question: when Atali flips, is it's converted 0?
Oh, I wasn't thinking about flipping.
When
I
a
don't
card
know.
flips, what is it?
I was thinking about trying to
become?
get around your like indestructible and swift foot and stuff like that.
No, mana value is the same. Okay, I wanted to check on that. Okay, yeah. So yes, this is a good card. I like targeting the player. I've always liked black removal spells that target the player. It makes cards that give the player hexproof that much better,
right?
Because they're able to protect against cards like this. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
It's 9 times out of 10, it's going to hit the most annoying thing either way,
right?
For three mana. So I think it's a fine card. I think it's a card that's definitely worth exploring. At 3 converted, it kind of gets into that range of like, is there something better? But it seems pretty good because it is exile, which means it's not going to the yard.
This is a meta play, and honestly, again, I just included this one because we've played Atali so recently, and that is I want to get a Blightsteel Colossus with Swiftfoot boots and win the game. And so,
well, also we have a Praetor heavy meta too, right? And so a lot of the times this is going to get all of the Praetors that are really pesky, the Shuldreds and the Jin-Kataxis and that kind of stuff.
Correct.
That's yeah. I mean, and also we say this sometimes. A lot of people will like to focus on their strategy and they don't put enough interaction in. I never hate having a removal spell. A removal spell sometimes is going to be the difference of like losing the game. If I'm able to remove one of the threats that's coming at me, that's great.
Death-Rattle Oni, Wayne Reynolds getting in on the set a little bit, and it looks like a beautiful Wayne Reynolds piece too. Love this demon spirit appearing through some sort of digital portal. 7 mana 5/4 flashing demon spirit. This is an uncommon. All right. Costs 2 less to cast for each creature that died this turn, and when it ETBs, destroy all other creatures that were dealt damage this turn. I just have to feel like you're going to be casting this for 1 mana quite a lot at instant speed, and any of your ping, any of your pestilence, any of your whatever suddenly becomes a board wipe with Death-Rattle Oni entering the battlefield. I just really think that this is going to be a 1 mana. I think this is very niche. We're here talking about our favorite commander cards from the set, not the most powerful. But I do think that this is one of the under the radar cards that people aren't really going to recognize. But I mean, Pyroclasm is suddenly a full board wipe for
think about it like creature. This. You can build this into Pestilence,
right?
And then what you can do for 3 mana, right, is you can wait, or you could just use the Pestilence to burn a couple things down to get it within range,
right?
Or what you could do is you could wait until combat between opponents, wait for a couple things to die, pestilence the board once, and then just cast your Death-Rattle Oni for like 1 black. So you could in theory do 1 tick of pestilence and this to board wipe for 2 mana if you wanted to.
Vlad of Bloodbath in chat said, I like You're Already Dead more, but that's exactly what it is. It's a You're Already Dead for all other creatures that were dealt damage. I mean, let's say that somebody attacks with a huge line just to get rid of somebody's chumpers. And so the blocker chumps with all their 1/1s. They all die. If at least 3 of them have died, this costs 1 mana. You flash it in, destroy the attacker's entire board, and you get a 5/4 just to like be freaky and freaky deaky with. I just feel like this is a silly, fun, uncommon. And I really am going to find some applicability for it. And that's before we get into Reanimator strategy with this. Because we can just return it and wipe everything again.
I just love it with Pestilence type effects.
Yes.
I just think, it's like you could wait for that big, battle moment and then just Pestilence everything and just clear this. And then you got the 5/4 hanging out afterward.
K-Spice with the note. Cast this between first strike and regular damage.
Yeah.
Dude, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
For your line first strikes and then you cast this, their whole board's dead. I like that a lot.
And you said the art was beautiful, but I would kind of argue that it's horrifying.
It's beautiful in that it is convincing you it's horrifying. You know what I'm saying?
It's got as many legs as, like a 6-legged thing.
Well, I think it's got 8. It's 4 on each side.
Is it a spider?
I think it's some kind of spider thing. Plus, it has a bunch of eyes.
6.
No,
I think it's got a big tail back there.
Look, 1.
Does it really have
2,
8?
3, 4 on the right side. You can put arrows in this as you edit it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the other side 1, 2, 3, 4.
So it's a spider.
And then it's got the eyes in the middle. Look at the eyes in the middle.
It's definitely a spider. This was supposed to be a demon spider, and it came out as a demon spirit. You know, I guess a spider could be a spirit. That's fine.
Yeah, dead spider. Reckless handling is next. Tell us about reckless handling.
1 red, 1 other. For a sorcery, search your library for an artifact card. Swing. Reveal it. Put it into your hand. Shuffle. Then discard a card at random. Okay, so it's a gamble for artifacts. If an artifact card was discarded this way, reckless handling deals 2 damage to each opponent. So because this is also going to be modern playable, I could see this having implications and stuff like Hammer Time and that kind of stuff.
I'm telling you, man, this card is just good in my opinion. 2 mana tutor at uncommon. Yes, it can only get artifacts, but who cares? Plus, if you just get absolutely boned, it's 2 to everybody.
If you're running something that lets you get artifacts back from the yard, then you don't even really care if it gets discarded. You just needed to find it. Then it's essentially an entomb for that artifact that you tutored up.
Yes.
So yeah, it's an interesting card. I mean, it's a tutor spell.
Dosey said it perfectly. It's a tutor. Tutors are good.
Tutors are good.
Thumbs up.
That's right.
That's exactly right. Animist's Might. Another uncommon on this list that I like here. I put this one on here because Jake ignores green cards. Green and 2 other for a sorcery speed. Costs 2 less to cast if it targets a legendary creature you control. So Zach beating us up on Monday with a bunch of legendary trampling big chonkers. Already good there. Target creature you control deals damage equal to twice its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. So 1 mana. I don't like that it's sorcery speed, but honestly, it would be broken in my opinion if you could just do this instant speed.
Yeah.
Because you're blocking, you're dealing damage. It's just nutso. But it could still be, I mean, it's just for a deck that might not have the removal spells that it wants. This is quite some green chonker removal spell here, being that a 3 power can remove a 6 toughness creature.
Yeah, it's pretty strong.
And it doesn't clap
it's
back.
Pretty strong.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
it's not a fight.
A one-sided fight.
Yes.
It's the I think it's very good.
Yeah.
I think it's very good.
See, I can already see in chat, everybody has a deck that this is going in, and that's what I knew about this card when I looked at it, because people play Ram Through, and Ram Through is that one-sided fight type of card, but it's instant speed. This is sorcery, but the times that it's going to only cost 1 mana are going to keep this relevant.
Yeah, 1 mana at sorcery speed, I'm fine with it. I don't care that it's sorcery speed.
Yes.
It's just you do it before combat.
Right.
That's fine.
Friendo's exactly right. It's the twice the power thing that makes this super playable. I completely agree. If it was just the power, I'm like, it's fine. But that twice its power clause makes it really strong. Jake, this is one I put in here, and so we've been going back and forth, but let me take this one because I put it in here for a specific reason. The card itself is okay. This is not necessarily one of my favorite commander cards in the set. However, that first line of text on here, I think is very indicative of a design space that they are going to continue to put cards into in these constructed sets. X can't be greater than the number of players in the game. I think that this is very relevant because this means, okay, designers are sitting there going, how do we make cards for Commander in every freaking set, but still make our standard sets viable? Got
that's a good point.
X can't be greater than the number of players in the game. So in constructed, in standard, this is not dump a ton of X mana and go get a ton of X lands onto your battlefield tapped.
Yeah.
It's 1. Maximum in the game, it's 5. Well, 3.
Also,
4. 4.
I'm just going to say, this is good. This card is good. I like paying 5 to reveal until I get 3 lands and then just put them on the battlefield.
It'd actually be 4. I wasn't counting ourselves because we would definitely count ourselves as a player in the game. And so you could potentially cast this for 6 to go get 4 onto the battlefield tap. That seems good to me. It seems solid.
that's so insanely good, and then everything else going on the bottom of your library in a random order, that way you're not losing those cards. This is an insane ramp spell. This is an insane ramp spell for 6 mana in a pot of 4 to go get 4 lands. I would gladly do that. And the fact that I could turn on an effect like this as early as, turn 4 in some instances, turn 3 in some instances, casting a 6 cost,
and it's any land.
More
it's not just basics.
Exactly. It's any land. You're going to reveal the first 4 lands you get. They're going to have any implications that those lands have. So if you have to bounce something or whatever, if you have to but I think it's really good.
Yeah,
Amulet of Vigor does like this. That is true.
I really just like this card for what it represents as far as design space, because this is just like a circuitous route sort of in standard, because you can cast it for 4 to go get 2.
Yeah.
But it scales up for commander because of that one line of text. And I also love this design space they're continuing to pump support into, which is reveal until you hit the thing you need. Not just reveal the top 5, and if you're lucky, you get lucky. It's reveal until you get 4, if you're casting it like you said you're casting it. And so that's why I wanted to include it in this list, because it seems like it's not going to be talked about because the card itself is just, it's fine. It's solid. But I think that the design space being hinted at here is bigger than this card is my point.
I just like it as a scalable ramp spell.
Yeah.
It's like I can do it, if there's only 2 players left in the game, obviously we're only going to cast it for 4.
Right.
We're not doing the or we're going to cast it where X is 2. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a fun card.
Yeah, could be good. Hey, we did get Calyx in here. Jake, maybe I did put your picks in here. The legends in here.
Did I put Calyx on? I don't think I did.
Oh, maybe
this might have been your pick. 1 white, 1 green, 1 other for 2/2. When we talked about this card in the previous video, whenever Calyx, Guided by Fate, or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. And whenever Calyx or an enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may create a token that's a copy of a non-legendary enchantment you control. Do this only once each turn. So when we talked about this previously, we brought up how this is going to be an auto include in the 99 of Enchantress decks. We don't really know how it would perform as a commander by itself at the helm of the deck. But if you're able to copy, because it says token, that's a copy of non-legendary enchantment you control. So think of if this is a counter-centric commander, or going into a build that's going to have enchantments, you would want to copy stuff like Doubling Season, stuff like Hardened Scales, stuff that's going to synergize with the strategy behind this card. So I think in Enchantress decks, it's an auto include.
Yeah, it's an auto include in the 99 of Enchantress. That's why it's on the list. We talked about it as a commander in our tier list commanders from this set. Make sure you go check that video out. Nahiri's Resolve, 5 mana enchantment here. Boros and 3. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and have haste. And then at the beginning of your end step, so you get it the turn it comes in, exile any number of token artifacts and or creatures you control. Return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next upkeep. So this is a Boros Conjurer's Closet for all of your creatures if you want.
Yeah.
The potential value here is insane. This card is brimming with potential energy.
Any number,
dude.
So yeah, you bounce what you want. I don't know if this was on your list, Joel, but it was on my list, and it's just one of these cards that's like, it's just busted, dude. It's just busted. It's a big enchantment. We know that enchantments are hard to remove. It's my favorite permanent type because it's just a passive effect that sits on the battlefield and warps how your MTG experience works. So that's what's cool about enchantments, is it's like, oh man, now there's this game breaking effect, and the more an enchantment costs, the more game breaking the effect is. So this one costing 5, creatures you control get +1/+0 and have haste. I actually like that +1/+0. I'd be fine if this just said it gives them haste. I would honestly be fine if this enchantment just didn't have that first line of text and it just had the bottom line of text, which was blink your whole board.
You got to think about the synergies of that, because you are sending your creatures away until your next upkeep.
Sure.
David Chad pointed that out. It's not Conjurer's Closet because they don't come back to your next upkeep. But David also noted,
you have to have that.
Yeah,
you pretty much have to have that.
Exactly, because when they come back, you want to be able to attack with them, and so the haste
and they come back a little stronger.
Yep,
that's fun.
Exactly,
it's fun.
It also, David mentioned that it helps dodge sorcery speed removal. So Wrath of God, you're not going to get hit by on your creature board. They're going to have to figure out some instant speed board wipe to be able to actually board wipe you fully. And so it makes a fun decision, right? Because you got to decide which of your creatures on the battlefield you want protection for, and to take advantage of their ETBs again, right? Because that's what we're doing by blinking. Plus, what are you going to leave to be a blocking line and potentially be fodder for the board wipe? And so I think it's just a really interesting design space. It's a really interesting card for Boros. And that's a color combo that needs some interesting cards. It needs a sort of a refresh in its design space outside of equipment and draw a card. That's pretty much all these colors do nowadays. So I think it's cool. It's a sweet enchantment, really sweet enchantment.
Next up, we have Metropolis Reformer, 1 white and 2 other for a 2/3. Flying Vigilance, you have hexproof. Whenever Metropolis Reformer is dealt damage, you gain that much life. It is just a thorn in the side at 3 mana. It is like a baby Shalai. I love this card. I think that it's really cool. I love the converted. You can get it back with the Sun Titan. That's kind of like one of the things that I dig the most about this card is it's in that range of like easy to return.
It's got Ryan Panko cool. Start killing it.
This is good.
Jake, one of Jake's pet phrases is in MTG is you have hexproof. He is a huge fan of you have hexproof. I think that's really cool. Providing hexproof to the player on a butt that can be reanimated, like Jake said, really cool. Just extra damage that if somebody Blasphemous Axe, you get 13 life in addition to your stuff dying. And so I think that, any amount of Darksteel Plate you want to equip to this creature, go right ahead, Jake. It's going to be your best blocker. It's got flying, it's got Bidgie, it's got indestructible if we put Jake's Darksteel Plate on it. And that means it is attacking.
That's what they need to rename that card is Jake's Darksteel Plate.
Jake's Darksteel Plate. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a sweet card. It's definitely worth a look. Angels obviously wants it. Any utility angel that deck gets is going to be good. And so I think that people will want to take a peek at that one and see how it does.
We were talking about that really fun removal spell that you like that is target player, and then they have to exile something.
Exactly.
So this is one of those cards, just to kind of give you, at a glance in this video, a card that would directly negate an effect like that. This is why you like stuff like this.
Vlad of Bloodbath says Jake Steel Plate. I like that. Good working title.
Jake Steel Plate, yes.
We do need a secret layer version of there. Let's look at Drannith Ruins. Ikoria the human bastion has been destroyed, and now it is ruins. Reduced to a playground for Ikoria's monsters, according to the flavor text, if you believe such things. 2 mana. It's a land that taps for colorless, and 2 mana, you tap it to put 2 +1/+1 counters on target non-human creature that ETB'd this turn. All these haste decks that I've been pitching tonight certainly want this card.
Yeah, this card for me, I'm actually surprised that it's under $1 because I see this as a card that is just a little value late in the game in EDH. It's just like a little extra value on one of your creatures. And I know that we've talked ad nauseum about cards like Hardened Scales and Doubling Season and that kind of thing. But again, you could have a Bird of Paradise enter in the worst top deck imaginable late game in EDH, have Drannith Ruins on the battlefield in a Doubling Season, and now all of a sudden you're putting 4 counters and a bird, and you have a 4/5 for 1 mana and then 2 in a tap here. So it's not the most amazing and impressive card in the world, but being able to put counters on something on a land, it seems pretty strong, and it seems worth considering.
Yep, it can go in any color deck. It's a utility card worth considering for sure. Anything, I think about the green trample deck that we just had to play against from Zach on Monday. All of those being +2 power would have been even more damage to get through, even more annoying to deal with. And so, and like you said, any the whole Bird of Paradise thing feels roundabout, but anything that creates 2/2 flyers, I mean, turning those into 4/4 flyers, done and done. Like, that's all the selling I need on this card, right? Is this turns your spirits into 3/3s. Done. That's it. It's just already good.
The time restriction is a bit tricky, correct? Heffies says, and I do agree, because you have to tap 2 and you have to have that mana up in order to do this. There's something that can reduce the mana cost of this. That's going to be even better. But yes, you do need to be able to do it when it entered the battlefield. But do keep in mind, you could have situations where you're blinking things, and then you're able to make sure that you get the most out of this by, doing it after something comes in the battlefield, and in scenarios like that. I
like Zach's point that modified decks want this. So any of those decks from Kamigawa that have to do with modification, I'm telling you, that Shishiro deck, it was the worst seller out of those commander decks, because the other one was like the robot mech one. Obviously, that's going to be the popular one, but that's the Shishiro deck. I've seen it pop off, bro. Creating creature tokens, putting counters on them. It looks for modified creatures and snowballs more. I think that, Corey, I know that you've played Shishiro. I just think, this does have a lot of potential. I think it could be really good. We get to Training Grounds. What is there to say about Training Grounds?
I like that this actually made the list, because it was worth a mention. Obviously, this is a good card.
It's fantastic in Commander, but that's known. We know this, but it's available now.
That's right.
It's going to be like a $5 card now versus the multiples 30. Of tens it's been for so long. I think it was
like 35-ish for a long time.
Yeah.
This card was printed in, oh man, I might be wrong, but Rise of the Eldrazi is where I think it first came up.
I believe so.
And yeah, this was a card that, if you look at this card's chart, it's honestly a hilarious chart, because for a very long time, this was a 25-cent card. This was a bulk rare from the set, and then Commander took off and this card just ripped, because people were like, now that is an enchantment. It is low to the ground. It only costs 1 blue, and activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. That is a massive reduction for the cost of this card and the potential that it grants for your commanders that want something like this. Card is just great.
It's a very good card. Nothing else to say about it. My anecdote about Training Grounds is that the first time this was ever played against me was by Biff. Friends of the channel.
That's right.
Friends of the channel know our friend Biff. He played it against us. Me and Jake both kind of laughed at him. We were just like, okay, really don't know why that's a slot in your deck, but all right. We kind of poked fun at him. And then his Tasigur deck that played it proceeded to whoop our ass. Cedrus, yeah.
It was Cedrus.
Because it was Unearth.
Cedrus has the Unearth.
And it turns it into 1 black.
Yep, it turns it into 1 black Unearth. Yep. And it is just...
He proceeded to wipe the floor with Cedrus with Training Grounds on the battlefield. And absolutely kicked our ass. And we were like, okay, yep, turns out that's a really good card. Got it. Strong.
Yep.
It's reprinted. Yep. Go pick up a copy when it gets down to like 5. I think this.
He would always play great. He would unearth a bunch of stuff, and then he would wait to unearth Great Whale. That way he could untap a bunch of lands and keep unearthing. That deck would just like cast a ton of stuff all at once and then swing out. And Training Grounds was integral in that combo.
Yep. That takes us back around to Filter Out, and that is our list of the favorite commander cards. The set was only 50 cards, and we widely didn't discuss commanders because we mostly discussed those commanders on the tier list, so make sure you go check that out. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching.
The tier list is above chat, tier all the way up in the top,
up there,
by Nick Baker.
Up there in the corner by Nick Baker, the Monarch. All hail.
Wait, when did Nick Baker get in at Monarch?
When you walked away, Nick Baker dropped in, stole the Monarch for $30. All
Nick
hail.
Baker, all hail the stream Monarch. Okay, that's pretty dope.
So, people watching on YouTube after the fact, thank you. Hit like and subscribe to YouTube stuff. Bye-bye.